GERENetwork.com. This is a GERE Network production.
You're listening to Better Live Than Dead.
I believe it's a big challenge for our building to keep things in perspective and to, if we're going to get addicted to anything, let's get addicted to the process.
And we welcome you to episode number 27, week 5. Trust the podcast. Buffalo Bills versus Tennessee Titans. This is powered by Better Live Than Dead and the GERE Radio Network. And if you may have missed it is
Victory Tuesday!
That's right, Victory Tuesday. Except it's a Wednesday. Sometimes we miss the shot a little. And the podcast happens on a Wednesday. Either way, the Bills won. I am Ryan Wolfe at Wolfe BLTD. You know me by now. And you know the man joining us on the IndyCar Media Hotline. He is, again, joining us for the second straight week. He is the GERE Network president, CEO, dad. I don't know what else. John Cimino at the JC Money. How you doing, buddy?
Hey, how's it going? Trust the podcast listeners. I am here once again after such positive reviews. No news was good news. That was the reviews, but such positive reviews of mine of my appearance last time that it was so nice I had to do it twice. I'm happy to be back.
That's the truth. You know, a lot of people said they enjoyed it and you enjoyed it. I mean, that's the most important part. We want people here on Trust the Podcast to enjoy the podcast, listening and being on the podcast.
I'm sure they're happy about how much I classed it up. With Magic Johnson jokes and veering off topic. That's what I tend to do. To any of the previous two co-hosts, Brayton doing his thing at the Rochester Amherst currently. I heard him on the radio coming here to Studio B, where I typically record the FTW podcast with Brandon. And I heard him on the radio, and I was like, trust the podcast. And I'm like,
isn't it great?
It's so crazy. It's so crazy.
It's so weird to me. Like, he'll text me and he'll be like, "Hey, do me a favor, tune in the." Excuse me, because I have AHL TV or AHL Live, whatever it's called. So I'll watch the game, and then once it goes intermission, I'll mute the computer. I'll turn on the radio.com app. Cheap plug. I shouldn't have done it, but I did it.
Yeah, I have it too. It's okay.
I'll turn on ESPN Rochester, and I'll listen to Brayton the intermission, and then I'll text him and say, hey, good job, or whatever. I'll sit there and I'll send him little snippets or clips of like, hey, try this or try that or do this.
And you know what he'll say in response?
What's that?
Shut up, Ryan.
I knew it was coming.
There you go. One per podcast. I got it out of the way now.
You can hear the podcast. Speaking of places to listen to podcasts and radio stations, you can hear us betterlivethandead.com, iTunes, iTunes, Google Play Music, iHeartRadio, and Spotify.
Yes. And anywhere that your fine podcasts can be heard. Yes, when I say anywhere, there are a lot of. I'm going to actually give love to one of them right now because I'm on there. Well, we're on there as well. Play a Pod. You can go on Play a Pod. We're on there. We're on SoundCloud. We're on Anchor. We're on iHeartRadio. I think you already said that. We're everywhere, man. We're everywhere.
We're bad. We're nationwide.
That's right.
With that being said, let's jump into the podcast. The Buffalo Bills squeaked past the Tennessee Titans 13-12 in what can only be explained as a barn burner. Now, mind you, on Sunday, John was in New York City or in New Jersey. Let me get that right. He was in New Jersey to see the Jets.
I was in New York City the night before, and it's really weird. I'm not going to divulge into the whole story on my Jets experience. We'll save that for the FTW podcast later this week. But in short, I've been to a Bills game before, and it was a Bills game. I think it was week 3 of the preseason in 2013 or something. I don't know. I won free tickets to go see the Bills and the Lions, and I had a great time. Because they weren't playing the Jets, I stopped by one of the fine street vendors on the way there, and I bought a Bills hat. So I do own a piece of Buffalo Bills merchandise that I broke out in the playoff game last year. I will admit, but going there as a closet fan, sympathizer, whatever, that was cool. But to go to the home stadium of the team that you have rooted for so long, and I know the Bills Mafia knows this through and through. I've never been to a Jets game before, a home game nonetheless. And let me say, I completely get it now, where, the fans out there are like the Mafia, for example. If you don't like the Mafia, for some reason, you're like, oh, well, the Bills Mafia are a bunch of stupid people jumping through tables and crap like that. Like, no, it's the spirit, man. It's I walked in, I must have hugged like 20 people I'll never see again in my life. But it was amazing because we were all there in unison. It was so cool. But anyways, more on that later. But anyways, go on, Ryan. I know enough about the game.
No, listen to the podcast. I mean, I'm looking forward to hearing the story because I like to see people go to cool places and do cool things, and that definitely I think will be a nice story. Plus, I followed you on Twitter the night before and kind of saw what you were doing and saw some photos and videos. Plus, the night before was McGregor and Khabib, which was just a total nutso-fest.
I was so incredibly hammered. We were on the rooftop bar and grill in New York City, which overlooks the. I feel like Perez. I feel like I should do this in my Perez voice. But it overlooks the Empire State Building. Better Live Than Dead. You got to listen to to Mr. Perez. But anyways, overlooks the Empire State Building, and it was lit up in I believe the Islanders were playing, so it was lit up in Islander colors. But it was really cool to just be there for that, and then of course the next day at MetLife Stadium, which they had their stuff together because there was literally like. For as big of a place as it, there was no lines anywhere. It was sold out too, mind you. There was every seat was filled, but there was like no lines in the bathroom, no lines, and it must be just like the new wave of stadiums, like that's how they're constructed. But it was really cool to just be able to get in and get out, food lines and everything. It was really dope.
It does. That is fantastic. I remember the one time I went to a Bills game. The last time I went to a Bills game, I should say. It was, I think, October 3rd, and years ago, and the Bills played the Jets. It was like 41 to whatever. Mark Sanchez threw for like 9,000 yards.
Oh yeah, I remember his only victory as a Jet. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, it's about right, really.
That was like the high point mark right there for him, and then like the butt fumble happened, and then it just all went downhill.
Yeah, you can't never come back from the butt fumble.
Excuse me. Exactly.
So Stephen Hauschka.
Yes.
I was out apple picking with my wife and her wonderful family because we do the same thing every year, the first Sunday of October. That's what we do. It's her aunt's birthday around the time my birthday as well. So they decided they're going to go out and celebrate for her aunt's birthday, but also it's great because you get to throw apples at people. It's fantastic. But I caught the second half of the game. Stephen Hauschka had a walk-off 46-yard field goal with time expiring. It was funny because I don't have the exact quote in front of me, but I know Hauschka said something along the lines of he saw when he kicked the ball that Titans players started to celebrate, but Hauschka knew that ball was going to hook back in. And if anybody knows anything about Stephen Hauschka, it's the fact that he's got a nasty, nasty hook on that ball, and he'll kick it and it'll be dancing right, and then just comes back left and bounces right in for a field goal. So that was really cool to see. It's nice that the Buffalo Bills got a win. We're going to talk about it here in just a moment. That a win is a win, but and I guess that kind of can bring us into our three big things. A win is a win, but when do you say, okay, now we need to start looking at player performances? And it brings me to Josh Allen, who was 10 for 19, not bad, only threw for 82 yards and an interception. So at what point in time do we start to say, hey, Josh Allen, what are you doing? Because the offense was very run heavy, 43 rushing attempts in total. But when Josh Allen threw the ball, he wasn't doing a whole lot with it.
Well, you have to remember, again, this kind of goes to the point of last week when I mentioned the roller coaster ride that is a rookie quarterback. And it's wonderful to be, again, not to circle the Bills podcast back to talking about the Jets, but in this very season, I can absolutely relate to the ups and downs with a rookie quarterback. So Sam Darnold threw for 300 yards or 3 touchdowns last week. The week before that, he was garbage. You know what I mean? It's the ebbs and flows of a rookie quarterback. So you ask yourself again, at what point do you look at Josh Allen and say, hey man, what are you doing? Well, let's look at it like this. the kid obviously is not ready. And if you listen to McDermott during the press conferences, he was very salty and has been very salty because this wasn't part of the plan. This wasn't part of the process, was putting Allen out there so early. They were hoping for Peterman or AJ McCarron to kind of start while Josh Allen sits and learns. And, if they could redshirt him for a year, that would have been a great thing. I don't think it would have realistically happened because they would have caved under pressure. But in the same, Josh Allen is out there much, much earlier than Sean McDermott and the coaching staff had planned. So yeah, he's not ready. He's not 100% ready. When he is on and he doesn't look bad, he does show glimpses of why he was a first round pick. But if you're going to ask about the performance, and if any Bills fan realistically is going to ask about the performance of Josh Allen and question that performance, the first question that really needs to be answered is, what type of team are the Buffalo Bills fielding? Again, like last week's point, are they going to contend? Do they feel that they have a legitimate shot at making the playoffs? And by the way, the Buffalo Bills from this point forward, Ryan, have the toughest schedule in the National Football League. So what team is the Buffalo Bills? If you're going to be a contending team, then maybe have that conversation, or have a conversation, but have it more with the offensive line around him and the playmakers around him, with the understanding that the kid's a rookie and he's not ready. And he was rushed a little bit because of the experiment failure known as Nathan Peterman. So I wouldn't question Josh Allen this year. That's the very, very long-winded point to get to the response of, I wouldn't question Josh Allen at all this year. I'd let the kid learn.
And that brings us to the next point here, too, is something that just really broke the past couple of days. The Buffalo Bills signed veteran quarterback Derek Anderson, formerly of the Browns, of the Panthers.
I like that move.
And it really seems like, first off, that Nathan Peterman will be gone as soon as Anderson is ready, unless I guess we're going to find out how much they really love Nathan Peterman, because at the start of the season, they traded AJ McCarron, saying they only wanted two quarterbacks. They thought Peterman was ready. Obviously, he was not. We know at this point Nathan Peterman is not only not a starting quarterback in the National Football League, but probably not good enough to even be put in spot duty because he struggled in those scenarios as well.
He might be on the AAF, though. You know about the AAF, right?
Isn't it All-American or something?
Yeah, All-American football or something like that.
It's something, something interesting like that. But with Derek Anderson, my thought process is, are you bringing him in, like on WGR today, for instance, they were talking about maybe, and even John Clayton mentioned this, maybe you're bringing Derek Anderson and give him a couple weeks to get up to speed, and then, Monday night versus the Patriots, you're probably going to start Derek Anderson. Like, is that going to happen?
Why would they do that?
Well, here's the thing. Or are you gonna keep continuing to bring Josh Allen along slowly but surely? Because the thought now is if he continues to go out and have games where he's throwing for 75, 80, 90, 100 yards, and to your point, John, the hardest schedule coming up, if the Bills go lose 8 or 9 in a row, or 7 to 10 or something like that, what are you going to do to Josh Allen's psyche? Because it's not only this year, but it's for the future. We've seen quarterbacks. David Carr, he was sacked a ton of times, and it just really grounded his career. Trent Edwards had that concussion against the Cardinals, where after that he became gun shy. Is this something where Josh Allen is going to be able to work through not only, but build off of it and say, look, we were bad. That's not what I want to do. We're going to move forward. We're going to do the opposite of that. But the other thing too about the Bills we have to remember is that it does seem like they are actively not trying to put an offense around Josh Allen. So there's a lot of factors to play into it. It's very easy to say Josh Allen's been okay. Maybe his development's a little stunted now because of the way that he's played. He really shouldn't be in there. But what else are they going to do? Oh, we'll put Derek Anderson, because that can also screw him up. So it's a very fine line to walk if Derek Anderson's just coming in to be a veteran quarterback to say, hey, Josh, this is how you do it in the National Football League. That's fantastic. Let Josh start the rest of the year, because at this point, the Bills have a DVOA ranked top 10 defense, but They have literally one of the 5 worst offenses that's ever been ranked by the people, the DVOA people. I forget who they are, what they do. I had a brain fart there.
Well, that's okay. But I mean,
good defense, bad offense. And again, like you said, you can't put it on Josh Allen, but maybe at some point in time they throw the white flag and say we need to pull him out.
I disagree with that. I disagree with that at this point. You have already the Buffalo Bills have already committed to not fielding a good team, and they already knew this, and the Mafia already knew this, and everybody already knew that the Buffalo Bills weren't expected to win more than 3 or 4 games this year. So you got 2 of them out of the way now. You know what I mean? At this point, I think it does more to harm Josh Allen. If they were to yank him out in place of Derek Anderson, because Derek Anderson has been a backup quarterback virtually, except for that one playoff season in Cleveland, his entire career. He's been a backup quarterback. So if you're bringing, you drafted Josh Allen first, you made him the guy, you got to ride, unless there is an injury to him and he can't physically play, he needs to be out there getting as much reps as he can. Look at Peyton Manning his first year. He was not good. He set the record for interceptions, most interceptions by a rookie. So, this year is a legitimate throwaway year for the Buffalo Bills. It really is. Next year, after they've spent all that money that they have coming to them in the offseason, after they have a number of draft picks, a high early in the draft, the second round or whatever. In the second round, I believe they have more than one pick, but after that, if you've spent the money to build a good product around him and he's still not performing despite statistical categories getting better around him, and he's regressing, then at that point, that's when you say you pull the plug on him. But not in year one. Year one, you stick with him unless he's injured.
I think at this point, my thought process is going to be, I'm going with the Mitchell Trubisky thought process here. Is that the first year the Bears stuck with Mitch Trubisky, he had a mediocre season as expected because the offense wasn't great and the defense was getting better. The Buffalo Bills have since Sean McDermott and Brandon Beane have come into power, they have put all of their resources into the defense to make the defense great. And at this point, they are. They after the first couple of games, they've rounded into form, had some fantastic games this season, which we can talk about here was our second point in just a second. But I think at the end of the day, you roll with Josh Allen. You got to stick with him. You made your bed. You got to lay in it, good or bad. But in the offseason, you really need to start devoting some money, some draft picks, some high draft picks, and some money to improving that offense. Figure out this season if the offensive line is what you want it to be. Is Zay Jones going to be a part of your future? Because apparently, 1 week they're hot, 1 week they're cold on him. So we'll have to figure that out. But
exactly.
Aside from that, you need to figure out who are the core players in the offense, build around them. And that's really what you have to do. I mean, because the defense looks good. The defense right now, if you had Josh Allen playing mediocre football, I mean, you'd probably be able to win 8 games because the defense is that good.
I think Josh Allen is good enough right now that if he had a better offensive line in front of him, the Bills could win 7 or 8 games with him. I think he is good enough. I think, and again, Ryan, my boy, I tell you this all the time. Shut up, Ryan. He's a rook. He's gonna make these mistakes, but I don't think he's a bad rook. I think if he had, a good offensive line to protect him, and even at this point, one playmaking receiver that's better than Kelvin Benjamin, I think that they would be good enough to win 7 or 8 games with him today. That offensive line, the onus is not just on Josh Allen here. It's really not. The process was interrupted. And I'm saying this as a Josh Allen defender. I'm defending the guy. Stick with him.
Now, talking about the defense, John.
Yes, defense.
Second of the 3 big things.
Second.
The defense in this case wins football games. 12 points allowed, 3 forced fumbles, 1 pick, 2 sacks. the return of the Bills defense it continues. I mean, they've been fantastic on in all aspects: running, passing, sacking, interceptions, fumbles. They've been doing it all. With the schedule getting tougher, though, do you think this is something they can keep up, or do you think that they may kind of regress back a little to the mean here?
It's going to depend on the offense. I think the defense is going to play well enough to keep them in the games, or as best they can keep them in the games. But you're right, with the schedule getting a little bit tougher, I could see it becoming a little deflating after a while. But if the defense keeps doing what they're going to be doing, they're going to be good. They're going to be set. And that's, it's really hard to say, because again, when you have a good defense and you have a really, really terrible offense, I mean, at some point the defense is going to be sucking wind going out there, after 3 and outs all the time. And they're going to give it up. So, I mean, it's very possible that could happen, that scenario could happen. Or it's possible that they just play solid and everything, they still finish 4-12, 5-11 or whatever, but they're like the New York Jets of last year, where the defense was pretty good and the offense was kind of anemic. It could be a situation like that where the defense becomes the heart and soul, if you will, of the team, and then as they upgrade on the offensive side, there's not very many pieces they need to do in the defense. I think the gist of what I'm getting at is I think the defense is going to be fine, so long as they're not, as long as the Bills' offense can produce more drives that aren't 3 and outs.
That seems fair. I mean, at this point, I'm all for whatever happens. If the Bills go out and lose the rest of the games, or if they go out and win the rest of the games, it's one of those things where nothing will really surprise me at this point. The defense has been a lot better. It was actually surprising to me that the defense was so bad. Excuse me, but the defense has actually been fantastic, been fun to watch, made the games actually interesting. It just, as we've mentioned, when it goes over to the offense, you don't know what you're going to get, which can kind of slow things down a bit. But another thing I want to mention before we move over to our preview for next week, LeSean McCoy's quest for 11,000 yards continues. He had a good week this week, 24 rushes for 85 yards. His shiftiness and ability to cut on a dime looked to be in top LeSean McCoy form on Sunday. He actually looks to be 100% for the first time in a few weeks at least, and we certainly expect him to continue to be a workhorse now. He's on pace for both career lows in rushing attempts of 144 and yards 544, but as the season goes on, he has a couple 100-yard games and put some yards away. I'm sure that will increase. LeSean McCoy remains 29th all-time with 10,262 yards, 11 yards behind 20th place Otis Anderson, who has 10,273 yards. But the one thing I want to talk to you about this week, John, the Philadelphia Eagles have lost running back Jay Ajayi for the season with a torn ACL. And apparently the reports out of Buffalo and Philadelphia both are that the Eagles reached out to the Bills merely to check on the availability of LeSean McCoy, which then the Bills reportedly said back, we'll take a second and a third round pick. So they certainly have set the bar very high for a potential LeSean McCoy trade. LeSean McCoy has one more season under contract after this season with the Buffalo Bills. It's highly unlikely that they'll re-sign him long-term just because of his age and the way that this team is going. But with that being said, do you believe that there could be, where there's smoke, there's fire, or do you think this is just a window shopping type of scenario for the
I'm going to go with the side of where there's smoke, there's fire. The reason that it's enticing to LeSean McCoy is, let's face it, as much as he grew to love Buffalo and Buffalo grew to love him, he didn't want to leave Philly. He always loved being an Eagle. He was always loyal to Jeffrey Lurie, the owner of the Eagles. Always loyal to the family. The first season in Buffalo, and they're playing in Philadelphia, he famously ran out to the Eagle and kissed the Eagle. And realistically, would he wind up back there in some capacity? Yes, obviously he would be. I think that this is a case where both teams are kind of unsure right now. And I say that the Eagles kick the dirt, kind of, question the Bills about LeSean McCoy's availability because of the plain and simple fact that they know that even at this time right now, he's still a playmaker and he would have a better team around him on the offensive side of the ball in Philadelphia than he would in Buffalo, than he does in Buffalo. That said, the Bills, I think throwing out the wacky second and third round pick thing is them kind of saying, we don't want to give him up, but we will for the right price. Now, I think they would be hard pressed to get him for if Philadelphia came back and said, we'll give you a third round pick and I don't know, maybe like a fourth or whatever, a later pick the year after, instead of, 2 high picks the same year, then yeah, I would say jump on that because Shady's only getting older. Get something for him before you can get nothing. The Philadelphia Eagles want him. He would want to be there. I could see for the right move that deal getting done, and I think it would be smart on Buffalo's part to entertain getting something from him for him, than getting nothing at all for him. But then there's the other part of it too, which is neither team really knows about the status of LeSean McCoy and this whole off the field situation that he's in. You don't know the stance that the NFL is going to take on that. So, it's a big game of risk. Do the Eagles risk giving a second round pick or a third round pick to the Buffalo Bills, and then they get LeSean McCoy and all seems to be going well until the hammer drops on them from the NFL Truth Commission. You know what I mean? The same with the Bills. Do the Bills ease up on their second and third round request demand, risking the proverbial hammer falling from the Truth Commission and LeSean McCoy suspended or worse, and get nothing for him. So it's a really unique and weird situation, but ultimately I think the better move for all parties would be sending McCoy to Philadelphia to get and getting something out of the deal.
Well, my thought too is that I agree with what you say. Get something out of it before you probably are going to let him walk. I mean, you can keep him in Buffalo, but even then you'll probably want to pay him less because you'll have someone younger in that role. I mean, it's just the Bills, both sides of the ball, or they're trying to get as young as possible. They're a young building team. That's the whole point of it. But my thought is this: Chip Kelly never should. If Chip Kelly never went to Philadelphia, I don't think LeSean McCoy ever would have been traded, because there was just something about Chip Kelly where he was just, I don't know what he was on or what kind of damn thing he was doing, but
Chip Kelly's a racist.
Trading away arguably Hall of Fame running back for whatever reason it was.
According to Shady, it was because he was racist.
The Eagles have wanted him back ever since, and I don't think he would turn down a chance to go back. But I think it's a good fit because, right now the Eagles, defending Super Bowl champions, are trying to find a way to continue that window being open. We know in football the window closes a lot quicker, unless you're the Patriots, who's been open for 37 years. But at this point,
it closes even quicker if you're a running back. So
yeah, well, absolutely. But my thought is,
you got to get in where you can fit in. He's getting to that age where the grays are going to start really beginning to poke out. So
my thought is this: you've got a good team. They've struggled a little, but they'll be good. Don't worry. They're a good enough team where they can say, look, we may have to give up a third and a conditional fifth. If they win the Super Bowl, it becomes a fourth, or if he resigns and it becomes a fourth or whatever, because you're not going to get a second and third. That's crazy. But a third and a conditional, that works. Get some bodies, get some young bodies you can draft yourself, bring in your own guys and develop and turn an asset into multiple assets. That's the whole point. That's how good teams stay good and continue to be good, because they hit on plays like that. They know when to give up on a guy. Now, I'm not saying LeSean McCoy's past his prime, you got to give up on him. But if a deal comes across that's too good to refuse, you got to take it. And I think at this point, it makes too much sense to send LeSean McCoy to the Philadelphia Eagles.
I do agree. You know what I just thought of randomly while you were going on that whole thing about, the fit there?
What's up?
Did you know that of the 100% of people that watch NFL football, only 9% picked the Buffalo Bills to win last week? And Ryan, you and I were among that 9%.
Perfect.
How about that?
We know what's up. We absolutely know what's up. I had to get quiet for a second. I thought it was raining outside. No, my windows in my house are open. But looking ahead, brought to you by 26 Shirts. Now, first off, the latest 26 Shirts Buffalo Edition Volume 5, Shirt 25, entitled Forever, available through October 21st. The latest shirt beneficiary is benefiting the Breast Cancer Center of Western New York. If you did not know, now you know. October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and hey, breast cancer can affect men. It can affect women. Nobody is safe from the potential of breast cancer, so make sure if you see something, if you feel something, go see your doctor, get checked out, because your life is too valuable to overlook something like this when it can be taken care of.
And if Ryan says that, damn it, you better believe it.
Best believe it. I got my mother-in-law is a breast cancer survivor, so this is very near and dear to my heart. You don't mess around with it. Get checked out.
No, not at all.
With that being said, Week 6, the Buffalo Bills at the Houston Texans, who are 2-3, coming off a big overtime victory against the Dallas Cowboys that featured Deshaun Watson throwing for 375 yards. Now, he's thrown for 375 yards in each of his last 3 games, and has topped at least 310 passing yards in 4 of 5 games this season. Another thing here, I had a neat stat in front of me. Oh, here you go. Deshaun Watson has passed for at least 375 yards in 3 straight games, as I mentioned, becoming only the 4th player ever to do so, along with Kurt Warner, Tom Brady, and Ryan Fitzpatrick, who did it earlier this season. So, with that being said, Deshaun Watson also is day-to-day with a chest injury. Everything about the Houston Texans is Deshaun Watson related this week. The line is minus 10.5. Houston is Buffalo very much is the underdog here. I don't know why, but Houston is a good team. Their defense is good, but their offense is kind of shoddy. But Deshaun Watson is incredible. So with that being said, John, what are your thoughts on the game this week between the Bills and the Houston Texans?
My thoughts on the game this week are as follows. You take a look at the 2 quarterbacks, because that's really what it's going to boil down to. How does Deshaun Watson do against a relatively decent Buffalo Bills defense, and will Josh Allen be able to counter that against a relatively decent Houston defense? For the season right now, it would say that it would favor Watson. Watson 125 of 192, 1,621 yards, 8 touchdowns to 5 interceptions, whereas Josh Allen is 65 of 122, 748 yards, 2 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. The difference is going to boil down to, is Lamar Miller going to be better than LeSean McCoy? Is Deshaun Hopkins going to be better than Zay Jones, which, if I'm not mistaken, Zay Jones, I believe, is out for this week. I thought I heard that somewhere. Maybe I could be wrong. But I think that on the offensive side of the ball, Deshaun Watson at this time is a better weapon than Josh Allen. And I think that the other pieces of the puzzle, Hopkins, Miller, Fuller, those guys are better players. And granted, Will Fuller, has had some injury battles, and he's been really good one week, hasn't been good the other week. I think he catches on. Him and Deshaun Watson have a pretty solid chemistry, and I'm just not sold on the Buffalo Bills offense versus the Houston defense. I'm really not. I could understand why the spread was I believe you said 10.5, right?
That's what it's looking like, yeah.
Was the spread? According to Pick Center here, it says 9.5. Either way, same thing. I'm going to side, unfortunately, Bills fans, I'm going to side with the 78.2% of the people that believe Houston will pull it out. I don't think it's going to be a runaway game, but I don't think it's going to be close. I would probably say Houston's probably good for about 24, and I would give the Bills 10-13.
That seems fair. My thought process is this. The Dallas Cowboys defense, not great. And they whooped Deshaun Watson's ass last week. Not so much in what they did.
Well, you know why that is. Because the Dallas Cowboys won 5 Super Bowl rings. Sorry, Lewis.
I knew it was coming. And I'm glad it showed up. I was going to make a joke. I'm glad
There we go.
It showed up. But, when they got to Deshaun Watson, they put a hurting on him. I mean, he has a chest injury, as mentioned. We saw him last week where he was walking off the field, and they'd catch him on the field. He was straight face. Once he gets to the end of the field, boom. Just, ugh. His face turned from perfectly fine to nasty because you could tell the amount of pain that he was in.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not good. It didn't look good. So my thought process is this. If the Buffalo Bills can get to Deshaun Watson and hit him a few times and make him uncomfortable in that pocket, maybe they'll have a chance. But at the end of the day, I'm probably going to say 17-14 Houston wins.
Ooh. Okay.
Because I think the Bills defense will hold them down enough where Buffalo's offense can get involved. But then again, you've got Jadeveon Clowney and J.J. Watt staring you down in the face. And good luck, Josh Allen. You're going to need it this weekend.
Yeah, that's intimidating for anybody, let alone a rookie quarterback with a shoddy offensive line.
Yeah, absolutely. Both teams have really bad offensive lines. They've been getting better, but they're still really bad. So it's definitely going to be a game that we're going to watch. And I will be back here next week to talk about it either way.
Well, you will. The verdict's out on me. I'm not sure. We'll see how the Bills Mafia feels about me in week 2 and whether or not Brayton Wilson gets off his lazy behind. I'm just kidding, Brayton. We're really proud of you. And shows up here to his rightful seat here on Trust the Podcast. But if not, rest assured, I will be here waiting.
Yeah, I think you've cemented yourself as the backup quarterback. You're the Nathan Peterman of the podcast.
Don't you even, I swear to God. Don't you even say I'm Nathan Peterman, or I swear to God, I'm going to reach through this Uber conference and slap the yellow off your teeth.
Well, good thing about that is my teeth.
Has anybody ever threatened you on your podcast, Ryan?
That's a first.
All right, great. We're setting all sorts of firsts here. Trust the podcast, ladies and gentlemen.
Well, that being said, good time. It's a good time to, I guess, wrap it up. We got to go file a police report. I was going to make a joke there, but I'll let that happen.
Don't be like magic. Wrap it up.
Yikes.
Hey, oh.
BetterLiveThanDead.com. You can listen to us on iTunes, Spotify, Google Play, iHeartRadio, all the other places John mentioned before. I am at WolfeBLTD. John is at the JC Money. Like I said, BetterLiveThanDead.com. We'll wrap it up the same way we did last week. We are Trust the Podcast.
You are not.
Got to get it across as much as we possibly can. And as always, trust the podcast, trust the process, and go Bills.
And shut up, Ryan.
The preceding presentation has been brought to you by the GERE Network.
Hey everyone, you like the music that you hear? Whether it's a background music on the commercial, a selection from either Brandon or myself on Football Talk Weekly, myself on TJCMS, or maybe the Turnbuckle Talk Radio podcast, folks, played a wrestling theme that you just dig and you want to hear over and over and over again. Well, I'll tell you what, GERE Network can hook you up with Amazon Music Unlimited, 30-day free trial. You can listen to tens of millions of songs, any song, anywhere, with new releases from today's most popular artist. You can listen to it ad-free with unlimited skips. And the best part, the most awesome part, you can save that data if you're still on one of them tiered data plans like I am. You can download it for offline listening. Better yet, if you have Amazon Echo at home, because I know you do, you can just ask Alexa to play whatever song you want, and they'll do it for you, just like that. It's kind of crazy. After the 30-day trial, you're really going to like this. The price for this is amazing. $7.99 a month or $79 a year for an individual plan for Prime members, or $14.99 a month, $149 a year for a family plan for Prime members. Or if you just want to go with just the Echo, because you like the Echo, you have the Echo at your house, and you want to just do an Echo plan, hey, $3.99 a month. You can't go wrong there. If you're also a student, you get a discount as well. Head to GearNetwork.com. On the top bar, it says support the shows. Under Shop Amazon, you will find the Amazon Music Unlimited free trial link right there, and you can click that and sign up for a free 30-day trial of Amazon Music Unlimited. This podcast does receive a special bonus if you do sign up and use the 30 days, even if you don't keep it. So it helps us out tremendously. But if Amazon is not your thing as well, right to the left of support the shows is the donate button, and we accept PayPal in any denomination. As always, thank you for your likes, your shares, your listens, your support, your shopping through Amazon, your donates through PayPal on GearNetwork.com.